Tonight we're going to talk about blue light, screens, how to protect ourselves from it, and I'm going to invite Lois, who is a company that offers anti-reflective blue light glasses. He's a big expert on all of this, and so he's here. We're going to try to, you know how live streams go, we can never quite get things to start the way we want. And then after a while, well, we manage to figure it out. So, is Lois jumping in directly? We're going to take just a few more seconds, a little bit longer, to get Lois to join and send a request, please. Of course, momentarily. So is it working like this? Still not working at this particular moment. If it doesn't work immediately, we'll start over. He's here. I accept your invitation. Here we go. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty well. We're getting there. We're connecting to the Earth. We're taking care of electromagnetic waves, and tonight we're going to take care of our eyes. It's not working. Lois wants to join, but of course I accept that, and I accept it multiple times, but it's still not working. That's pretty weird. Well, it's going to be boring because we're going to have a start to the live where there's not much happening. We can't get Lois to join. Lois can't join. So, you know what? We're going to do something. I'm going to start over, and that way we'll have a less boring beginning. Okay, we'll do it like this. Hi, Lois. I see you're here. All right, can I do something from here? And we're walking. It's working, still not. Well, listen, I'm going to end this live if you're here. Hello, this is a test. Yes, can you hear me clearly? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And you? I'm doing very well. So I can't see you, I can't see myself, but at least we can hear each other.
So I see that I have a wall with slats behind me, so maybe the camera.
Oh yeah, wait. Oh yes. It's because actually, I'm going to put it this way then.
Like this, and there we go. Like,
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, well, I can't see you, but I'm taking you with me. Is it good like this?
okay, very good. Well, there's not much to see, so don't worry.
Excellent. So hello everyone. Good evening as well already. The sun starting to set. That's right. But thank you for taking the time to join this live to talk about the impact of blue light on our lives, the blue light from artificial sources.
And yes, it's a topic that really interests me a lot since I spend a lot of time in front of screens. I really want to take care of myself and understand how it works. I know you have a lot of knowledge and that you're a real enthusiast. And since I'm passionate too, I'm interested in hearing your opinion so I can share it a bit with everyone who might be listening and manage to express that. So we need some specific things, but then I can explain it to my wife and kids pretty easily. But we need concrete, specific things to be able to break it down a bit and make it accessible for everyone.
Okay, absolutely. So first of all, artificial blue light isn't just from screens. We obviously think about screens because today we're extremely exposed to them all day long, even in the evening when we're relaxing. But artificial blue light actually breaks down. The sources of artificial blue light are light-emitting diodes, so LEDs, and also fluorescent lamps. Before, in the 20th century, it was mainly incandescent lamps that were there thanks to Edison's invention. The thing about those lamps we used in the 20th century is that they emitted much warmer colors and a lot less blue light than the artificial light sources we use today. LEDs, their specific feature, and fluorescent lamps, like the ones in supermarkets, those neon lights, etc. Basically, all the lights that are on, once the sun goes down in our modern society, emit a spike of blue light, and blue light, that's what I've been able to learn. Beyond the science, I'm also going to share a bit about how I got into this. Blue light has the shortest wavelength and highest energy. Blue LEDs, invented in the 90s by 2 Japanese and 1 American, won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2014. This explains their widespread use today. That means blue light is the visible light with the shortest wavelength and therefore the highest energy. And that's what explains why blue light is used, because blue LEDs were invented quite recently in the 90s by 2 Japanese and 1 American, who later won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2014 for their invention. That's why they're used so much today, a lot of energy, and it affects our physiology and how we function. That's it for blue light. What is it? It's the air lamps, it's in restaurants, it's the lamps we use at home, it's obviously the screens, the smartphones at the movies. To explain what I've learned about blue light, I think I should introduce myself first. My name is Lois Kedotinem. So I'm 27 years old, and back in 2014, during my second year of med school, I had sleep problems, and that continued into my third and fourth years. And I had other issues. I had acne, and I was pretty anxious too. And actually, my anxiety was also causing me to sleep poorly. I had trouble falling asleep, and I would wake up during the night. And the first thing that happened in my life during my third and fourth years of med school is that I spent a lot more time outside with my friends, especially with one friend. I started doing a lot of outdoor sports, trail running, and then biking, and even hiking too. It was great. And I noticed that I was sleeping better, that I just felt a lot better. So I kind of had this instinct throughout my medical studies that the more I lived naturally, the better I felt already. And also I felt better during important times like exams or even competitions, like the one in my sixth year. So little by little, I became kind of an enemy of technology, meaning that at home, during my fourth and fifth years of med school, and even a bit in my sixth year, I didn't have the internet at home. I still had internet on my phone, but I no longer had internet at home. And in my sixth year, I didn't have a smartphone at all. And actually, it just allowed me to live better. I noticed that, so sure, I was isolating myself a bit, but I still had my friends and family. And there you go. Simply put, when you're in med school, our goal is just to pass the exam. And so that worked really well for me like that. In any case, we're not the type to go out every night and all that. So it suited me very well like that, and to take my exam. And then after that, the beginning of a new life starts for all the med students who reach their seventh year after the national ranking exam, after the 10th year exam. At that point, I chose pathology, which is anatomical pathology in France. I picked this fascinating specialty in Besançon, a smaller city that's really close to nature, very green. Today, I live in Switzerland, but before that, I spent the first 6 years of med school in Lyon. Then I chose Besançon, a small town, and there too, I did a lot of biking. I felt relatively good, thanks to biking, but I realized I only felt good on the weekends when I went out. During the week, even though pathology is a great specialty, I was in a lab in front of screens, whether it was in macroscopic or microscopic work, so it was technical, but my whole day was spent at the hospital under fluorescent lights and in front of screens, so it wasn't going super well. And also, I had to get a smartphone back in my 7th year of med school for various reasons, so it wasn't going very well. And also, I had to get a smartphone back in my 7th year of med school for various reasons. And also at that time, COVID started to come in. It was early 2020 and and so there, like everyone else, I spent even more time on screens. So on one hand, I saw that I needed changes in my life. And on the other hand, I noticed that screens bothered me a lot. I've also always been quite sensitive to artificial lights, even on the street, and to the headlights of cars, etc., more than other people. I think there's a certain individual variability, if I can put it that way, between people. Still, we all have pretty much the same physiology. In the end, we all have the same physiology. And so starting in 2020, that's when I began to look into science to ask myself, okay, actually, is it? Because what I also noticed is that humans adopt a lot of new technologies without really understanding the consequences sometimes. And it was from this questioning of the established system and even of medicine that I thought, okay, I'm going to do my own research, actually, because what I also noticed is that humans adopt a lot of new technologies without really understanding the consequences sometimes. And it was from this questioning of the established system and even of medicine that I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do my own research, in fact, because what we learn in medicine is beautiful, but sometimes it is not up to date, or sometimes it is wrong. It is not an exact science, and I definitely don't have all the answers, but neither do doctors. So I think the best thing to do is just to look into it yourself. So I started researching blue light, and honestly, it's just a click away. You go on PubMed, type in blue light effects, and you get everything you want. Anyway, it all revolves around pretty much the same topics regularly. So to sum it up, I'd say that blue light, first of all, there's a lack of perspective in the sense that it could be more problematic than we think. Just like, for example, cigarettes cause cancers, especially lung cancer, and it was only in the 1960s that they were blamed for lung cancer, even though in the 1920s everyone was smoking. So I thought, what about blue light? Are there things we still don't know? Light is an electromagnetic radiation, so it has energy. And there you go, we skimmed over the concept of wavelength, but light comes with a lot of energy. So it hits our retina, and actually, it affects our entire eye anatomy before reaching the retina. The retina is already the beginning of the brain, and the retina is what allows the brain to analyze and see the image we perceive. So actually, the retina connects to our brain. I'm seeing that, and the retina, there are a lot of types of cells in the retina, but there are specifically the photoreceptors, which are the cones, the rods, and a new type of photoreceptor that was discovered in 1998. And it's fascinating. And it's fascinating. I mean, fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. They're called IPRGCs, which is just the acronym in English for intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. It's just a small part of the ganglion cells in the retina. And basically, this photoreceptor's presence explains a lot about the impact of blue light on us. So this light comes with a lot of energy hitting the retina. And what's proven is that when electromagnetic radiation hits a living organism, a cell, it has an impact. Action, reaction. And so an impact that I would describe as, well, photochemical. So the cells are suffering. That's proven in vitro. Now there's nuance to consider. That means the cells in the retina are suffering. They accumulate an aging pigment called lipofuscin. They start to malfunction. And they're also more sensitive to certain wavelengths, like red light and green light. They are more sensitive. They accumulate more lipofuscin. They malfunction. And they are at risk of dying prematurely. That's proven in vitro on the cells. Now, what's not proven, and yet I've seen some companies in ophthalmology, for example, marketing this, is that it could be a risk factor for age-related macular degeneration or even cataracts. So cataracts are located elsewhere anatomically. They're in the lens just before the retina. But you see, on an individual, clinical, and population level, it's not proven that we'll develop eye diseases because of blue light. However, the cells are suffering because of blue light. Then that's really on a physiological level. And since the retina is already the beginning of the brain, and the photoreceptors are actually neurons, there's a whole impact on what I discovered called the circadian rhythm. And I think that's both the biggest impact, the most significant consequences on our lives, and at the same time, it's the most proven and the most logical. That is to say, I have a light next to me, and it's telling my brain not to sleep, even with my glasses on. It's still telling my brain not to secrete melatonin. And what I discovered during my research, I actually wrote an ebook about it, is that melatonin, we hear about it briefly, like it's the sleep hormone. I might have had 1 or 2 classes in medical school about melatonin, but melatonin is really at the crossroads of how we function. We definitely need to optimize it, that's for sure, but melatonin is really at the core of how we function. If not, it's good. No, it's good. When things aren't going well, it's proven that the secretion of melatonin triggers all the diseases on Earth. That is to say, it's proven that shift work, night work, over the long term, increases all the risks of diseases, diabetes, sudden death, heart attacks, so cardiovascular diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, autoimmune diseases, psychological diseases. Almost all diseases are triggered by poor sleep In fact, indeed, the beneficial side of the coin is that taking care of your melatonin has a positive impact on our daily lives and our health. In our daily lives, I would just say to live well, to be focused, for example, to be more efficient, to sleep better, obviously, and to have fewer headaches. So melatonin is antioxidant, anti-infectious, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer. For psychology, it's what allows us to have a good secretion of melatonin, which helps reduce the risks of seasonal affective disorders like winter depression. Melatonin is also important for preventing anxiety. And there you go, melatonin is a super important hormone to optimize. And that's where my need to optimize my melatonin secretion came from. Because also in our cells, outside of the nucleus, in the cytoplasm, there are what we call mitochondria. When you've done science, or for example, a scientific journey, you see what it is. They're energy power plants in our cells, and these mitochondria need to repair themselves at night too, except they can only repair themselves, in fact, due to the presence of melatonin and our exposure to natural light during the day. Now, artificial light is bad light, in fact, is low quality light. It's a bit like the difference between a good salad with antioxidants, high quality proteins, and good fats versus a meal at McDonald's. Because of this spike in blue light, it's not that there's an absence of warm light, but there's a lot less warm light, and this spike in blue light is much less balanced out by the warm light, whereas natural light has a continuous spectrum because of this spike in blue light. It's not that there's an absence of warm light, but there's a lot less warm light, and this spike in blue light is much less balanced out by the warm light, whereas natural light has a continuous spectrum. That means there's about as much blue light as there is red light, yellow light, or green light. So for hundreds of thousands of years, I've always been absolutely convinced that we've naturally evolved with the Earth rotating around the sun, which indeed regulates our circadian rhythm. Because the circadian rhythm, our biological clock, is what undoubtedly makes us want to sleep at night and be active during the day. It's regulated and synchronized by different things. Our activities, there are just too many to list, really. Our social activities, even food and everything. But the first thing that regulates our circadian rhythm is our exposure to light. In other words, our eyes are really small, and our cones, the photoreceptors present in the retina, are mostly located in the center of the retina, in the macula. In short, our eyes are really small, and yet they're one of our best gateways to the outside world. And so our circadian rhythm is mainly, it's always been that way. I think we were pretty much the same 100,000 years ago physiologically, that our DNA hasn't changed much, even though I haven't checked that against some studies to see if our DNA has changed. But I mean, anyway, 20,000 years ago, we were already bipedal. We were pretty much the same. We had the same retina. I bet my hand on it. Except we didn't have these artificial lights, messing with our brains, preventing us from sleeping, more specifically the pineal gland, the gland that secretes melatonin. And I think that's what has the biggest impact in our daily lives, because what matters isn't whether science matters, but what we do with it and how we solve the problem. And I think that in today's life, in our modern society, we believe strongly it's normal to be indoors all day, while I believe we should be outside and enjoy the fresh air and spend time almost all day. There's also, this is a bit controversial, because I'm going to contradict, for example, some dermatologists, or a lot of dermatologists, but there's this idea that UV rays are really bad for your health, really harmful, and that you need to wear sunglasses, etc. And then you have to put on sunscreen. I just don't agree with that. First of all, because sunscreen has a lot of chemicals in it, and because ultraviolet rays are very important for regulating our circadian rhythm, Sure, ultraviolet rays are carcinogenic just like anything in nature when you abuse it. So ultraviolet rays are a type of light that has a shorter wavelength than blue light. Blue light is still visible light within the visible light spectrum. Right below we have ultraviolet rays, which are invisible. There are UVA, UVB, and UVC rays. UVC rays are, in theory, blocked by the ozone layer. UVA and UVB rays, it's true, are carcinogenic. And yes, they do accelerate skin aging, and so on. But as a result, partly under the pretext of that, we don't expose ourselves to natural light anymore. And so I think that has way worse consequences than living indoors, being sedentary, and not following what I believe are, at least for my own life, my 5 main principles, my 5 key foundations that I try to optimize. So, under the pretext that ultraviolet rays are bad, we don't go outside, and there you go. It's just bad for your health. And similarly, wearing sunglasses actually deprives us of a good part of the light spectrum. And I'm not saying that wearing sunglasses is really bad for your health if you put them on when your eyes hurt, when you're really outside too much, or when you have a job that keeps you outdoors a lot. But for me, for example, I live near Lake Clément in Switzerland. And when I see people who, even when there's barely any sun, are wearing their sunglasses just because it's stylish, from 11 in the morning until 6 in the evening, I think they're not taking care of their circadian rhythm at all, and I don't think those people sleep well, at least. And so for me, I hardly ever wear sunglasses, even though I sell them, but that's only for people who really need them, like mountaineers. There are people who have to wear sunglasses, okay? Mountaineers, such as individuals who spend a significant amount of time in outdoor environments, people who are on bodies of water, or bus drivers, or if you're really outside all day, like for instance, it is often believed that we might be incorrect in our assumptions regarding this matter. Furthermore, when considering blue light, I would suggest that in today's world, there appears to be like for me, with my blue light blocking glasses, I solve a big problem. But there are plenty of other issues in today's society that people don't respect. Well, I think people do respect. It's not their fault, but they respect their natural side a lot less. I want to say their naturalness. And so today, people take longer to fall asleep. It's not all black or white. It's not, I really didn't sleep well because of the blue light. And so people, when I say people, is really if I have to extrapolate, because I'm forced to extrapolate, but people as a result are hitting a ceiling. Actually, I think it's a missed opportunity and a loss of potential to wake up feeling mediocre with not much energy, but still having just enough energy to think that we actually have some energy. They also have concentration problems, which are triggered by blue light, even though in the short term, blue light increases concentration, but only for a very short time. It's like, I'll make another comparison, but I don't know if you've seen people who drink a lot of Red Bull. Honestly, they can focus for about 5 minutes, but overall, they're not very focused. And blue light is a bit like that. It's a bit like caffeine that we take all the time. So yes, it's supposed to be stimulating, but in the long run, we're not made for that because we're not robots.
Well, it's really hard to listen. I absolutely, truly, really, really enjoy listening to you. Usually I'm the one who talks a lot, but right now I really, really enjoy listening to you. And I love what I'm hearing because what I'm hearing is that, like me, you prioritize the natural aspect of living things, meaning observing humans in their natural state and how to take care of ourselves while making sure that the technology around us, sure, we have tools at our disposal, and that's great. It brings us a certain comfort, but like a knife, I often say the idea is to use it properly so we don't hurt ourselves, and to use it sparingly while staying aware that what surrounds us can bring something cool, but we really need to take care of ourselves naturally. And when we do it naturally, the body responds even better than when we use things to counteract it. And what I really like about what you're suggesting is that, like me, we're going to use technology to make up for it a little and express ourselves, and express ourselves. This technology that has negatively impacted us. I really like this way of looking at things because we're going to hack the technology that we point fingers at, saying that blue light is a technology that could be harmful to us. We're going to use technology to actually say that we're going to counter it with a tool. So that's the other tools, and I really like your way of looking at things. I can see that you know your subject very well. That really resonates with me. I need to hear these things to really understand and conceptualize what effects and impacts blue light can have. It's true that the shortcut we often take is that blue light equals screens. And in the end, I realize that the ceiling light plays as important a role as my phone when I wake up in the morning, that car headlights play the same role, that the neon lights on the street are the same. And in fact, all the lights have turned blue.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. You said it very well. All the lights have turned blue since we stopped using incandescent bulbs. The 20th century was definitely warmer. It felt more natural, I want to say. To talk a bit more about light in general, we have natural light and artificial light. Natural light is the sun. There's also a bit of fire, which can be considered as natural or semi-natural light. And then for artificial light, we have incandescent light, and then fluorescent lamps and LEDs. And today it's just LEDs and fluorescent lamps that are used because it's not very expensive to produce and it's very, very energetic. It's precisely the fact that it's very concentrated on short wavelengths, the blue, that makes it very energetic, but of poor quality for our eyes. And then even if it were continuous spectrum in the evening, when it's evening, it's evening. That means we're not supposed to see any light at all. So there you go. It's just something that prevents us. And since our lives are made up of cycles, especially the circadian rhythm and the day-night alternation, not respecting our evening and night means that I think we don't respect our next day. And that's also why what you said really made me think about the fact that